It's the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in. Tune in.
All right, man. Let's get right into it. So, you
Let's
had
jump
a
into
pretty
it.
dope investment recently in Cleveland, and for those who don't know, make sure you listen to episode 31. You get the backstory. But you live and you invest in New Jersey, and it seemed like things are going well in New Jersey. So, tell me about just going out to Cleveland and buying a property out there.
Yeah, so we experienced the same thing like that most of the major markets, right? Like we're 25 minutes, 22 minutes outside of the biggest city population wise, right? Like in the country being New York City. And eventually that tidal wave is going to hit, everything just like an atomic bomb, and it spreads out where the gentrification, the rising prices, things like that. Jersey was bound to get it, and they still continue to get it, right? So like most major expensive markets, eventually you're going to be tapped out, and there's only but so much that you can really be able to afford. And what I mean afford is that eventually you're going to have issues with your debt to income ratio, meaning that because the prices are so high, and mind you, Jersey, from a state perspective, we're number one in the country when it comes down to property taxes. Off the rip, the highest in the country when it comes
Wow.
down to property taxes. Yeah, there was a report that came out that like New York City was the highest, but that's why like you have to be careful because that's New York City. There's New York City and then there's New York State. But all that to say, New Jersey's high in property taxes, and with our rising prices, we were not able to go after the same deals with the same amount of capital. So that forces us, along with most investors, right? Anybody that's, I mean, obviously you're in LA, you see what's happening in LA, and eventually you're going to have to find a way to still scale, and at the same time, like have your dollar go further than when it's already doing, right? So Cleveland came up just off of the strength that we had been going through a couple of cities. We checked out Philly, which was at that point a cheaper market. We checked out certain parts of like Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, things like that. But Cleveland stood out because of the simple fact that as I was Googling, I was Zillowing, just like what do the properties look like? What are the property values? Cleveland stood out because it reminded me of where we have majority of our investments, which is Newark, New Jersey. And Cleveland and two other cities, Hartford, Connecticut, and Worcester. I think it's Worcester. Don't do, or however you pronounce it, right? Massachusetts, where they had a very, very similar style of multifamily properties that we found here in Jersey. We went to Philly. Vibe-wise, we didn't like it. There's plenty of successful investors in Philly, obviously. We went to Boston, which Worcester. I'm gonna call it Worcester. You can sue me after. I have no idea how to pronounce it. But we went there. The vibe just didn't feel right for whatever reason. And we went to Cleveland, and it was so funny. And I tell this story that my parents had always, when I was younger, we would go to Disney World when I was 8, 9. And I always remember being on the flight where when we landed, everybody on the flight clapped, right? For like everybody clapped. I just distinctly remember that everybody on the flight clapped. As I got older and as me and my wife started taking more trips, like when we landed, nobody else on the plane clapped. But it was so weird for me because I was so used to that. We get to Cleveland, we fly out to Cleveland because we were like, let's check this out. And when we landed, everybody on the plane clapped. And it was very nostalgic, and it was very like, this is a good sign. Mind you, still got to feel good, but it just felt good. And we actually genuinely like just had fun in the city, to the point where, and this is for everybody that's listening, you have to feel good in order to bust the move, no matter what happens with that move, right? So like, I can take it if I felt good about it, it looked good, it like energy, and then like if things weren't working out how they were supposed to, I can take that. What I can't take is if I didn't feel good about it, if I didn't like it, if I was just going off of what people were saying, still made that move, and if it didn't work out, I'd be more pissed off about that part. So long story short, we went to Cleveland. It felt good. And then at that point, I just knew it was a much cheaper market where our dollars from New Jersey, which I know New Jersey isn't the sexiest state, but where our dollars in New Jersey could go farther.
Got it. Got it. And so, I really want to emphasize a point you made a couple times is that if you're in an expensive market or whatever market you're in, whatever city you live in, you may be able to invest there for a while, but if you may have to get out of your comfort zone and go somewhere else to keep growing. And I really want people to understand that because it's the reality for a lot of people today,
Right.
like the places, or even people who invest out of state already in the city they're used to, there's no more deals. You might have to pack your bags, so to speak, and try something else. So I think it's great that you were able to recognize that.
Yeah, because you're in Ohio too, I believe.
Yeah.
So you already caught the wave. Like you
Yeah.
already if they're about to listen and all of a sudden get like Cleveland from me, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, oh, I need to invest out of state. Then like I'm here to tell everybody that like Sam's been pushing this out here for like since he closed on his crib, I'm sure. Right. So like he's already doing it. He's already doing it. So it's cool to have a refreshing person on it. But the reality is that you've been communicating this, and I've been watching it like off the rip because you bought your property before we did. You know what I'm saying? So like we saw that and was like, okay, that's more of a reaffirmation that like we just don't have to invest in our backyard, right? And a lot of people love to a lot of people love to touch things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's weird because everybody wants to touch their properties until it's time to make repairs, right? Like all of a sudden they don't want to touch the property, they don't want to go to the property, they don't want to deal with the property. You know what I mean? They just want to hire somebody to go fix it. But for whatever reason, in order to pull the trigger from an investment standpoint, they got to touch it, right? So we saw the consistency of people that were starting to buy like out of state for that very reason. So like to your point, like all we did was just follow the model of like I'm in an expensive environment. Where else can I buy?
Are you looking for a community of like-minded individuals and access to experts in real estate?
Yeah.
Are you interested in real estate but need more support and guidance?
You know who it is?
The Black Real Estate Dialogue presents the Real Estate Investing Community. No matter how much or how little real estate experience you have, we've created a community for you because your perspective is important. All right, tell me, where's the number one place where you can do Q&A with experienced guest speakers 2 times per month? How about unlimited access to past guest speakers' recordings? What about a private Slack channel to engage in daily discussion with everybody in the community to share resources and support each other? Head on over to blackrealestatedialogue.com. That's blackrealestatedialogue.com. It's the real estate investing community presented by the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Come join us today.
I'm interested to know, you were in North Carolina, you got the first 2 properties there, I believe Greensboro, and the next move was Montgomery. So can you talk more about why you felt it was time to move on from North Carolina? Also, what did you see in the Montgomery market that made you to think, you know what, I think this is a good place to continue growing?
Yeah. Well, so going back to North Carolina, we were in the Greensboro area, and we originally wanted to look in the Charlotte area, and Charlotte was just beginning to kind of balloon and bubble, and Greensboro looked like a good alternative. It's about an hour and 15 minutes out of Charlotte. So we said, this might be good. It was kind of like a diamond in the rough at that time. And so when we got our 2 properties there, we wanted to keep our purchase price at around $100,000. We didn't want to exceed that. We wanted to look for 3-bed, 2-bath turnkey. So at that time, we got 2. When we went back in 2021 to look again, the market had really, the equity had grown in that area. There's a lot of tech surrounding, Greensboro. A lot of transplant people who can't afford Charlotte are moving to Greensboro and then working in Charlotte. So, and also Raleigh, is pretty much like Charlotte 2.0, an hour and a half in the opposite direction. So we're like right in this area where we were seeing good growth, which was great for the houses that we owned, but sucked for us when we go back. So we kind of pretty much got priced out of the market. Simultaneously, I heard, like I said, listen to a podcast, and the gentleman was buying similar style homes for, at that time, around $50,000, 50, 60,000. So I started looking, and I was seeing homes that were of similar quality that were going for anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000, 3 beds, 2 bath, single family homes. And when I did the research on using the fair market rent, which you can find on any .org, fairmarket.org, and you breaks it down by county. A lot of Section 8 uses fair market rent to determine, the different rents per room. So we use that in that area, and we were seeing some good rental prices for 3 bed, 2 bath. It's like, man, you can get something for around 50 to 70,000, and you can rent it out for anywhere from 800 to 950. So I was like, that's a pretty good ROI. And so that, made us say, hey, we really need to get serious about this and look into this. So we just kind of took the leap of faith the same way we did in Greensboro in North Carolina, and it ended up working out for us. The first one worked so well that it was just seamless. We went to the second one and then to the third one, and we've been happy with it, and we think that that's kind of going to be where we land for the foreseeable future, for sure.
Definitely. And one thing I like is that you two were not afraid to adjust and to go into another area that you didn't know and saw the writing on the wall, and weren't trying to force your way into staying in the market where, things just became a higher price than you were willing to pay, and you were willing to go somewhere else. And I think that can be translated in so many ways within real estate, but I think it's important for people to understand, like, hey, the market you started in, especially these days, the market you started in is very possible that you may not get the deals you want at the price you want. We got 50 states.
Yeah.
You can go somewhere else.
Yeah. It's important to not be married to any one location, any one property. I mean, that's like the 101 of investing in anything. It's like, it's all about the numbers. It's not about nothing else. It's not about, I really love it here, or this house, I'm so in love with these types of homes, or whatever it is. It's about, where do the numbers make sense? And so for us, that's really how we were able to determine, man, we need to pivot and we need to move here. So yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. So how did you mentioned building the team? How did you do your market research in Montgomery? Was it virtual? Did you kind of do your research and connect with people virtually? Did you want to get out on the ground and look at things in person? Like, what was that process like for you two?
Wow, great questions, Sam. We pretty much did everything virtual, man. We like to joke about, it's like, we did it virtual in 2018 as well, and like we were kind of like 2 years ahead of the whole virtual whole virtual thing. But yeah, man, I mean, just literally with the internet, like I said, we first started by, let's look on Realtors, or let's look on Zillow, see if there's something we like. And it got so, I mean, it got so basic for us, Sam, that we call the real estate number next to the house. Let's start there. Every house will have a real estate agent attached to it. Hey, let's call that and see what happens. So we did that. It connected us to a young lady. We started a conversation. I was like, man, I really like this. I really like this lady, this real estate agent. And so we just stayed with her, and then in conversation with your agent. With your agent is a great way to start. They know about the area. You can pick their brain on, what's going on in the area. How's the job market in the area? How's the historical weather condition? All those things that you want to consider when you're going to be buying a house somewhere. You could just ask that agent, and then ask your agent, hey, do you know any good property managers? Do you manage properties? I mean, oh yeah, I know someone. A lot of times you're like a couple phone calls away from someone having exactly what you're looking for. So that's literally how we did it. We used the phone, we used the internet, and man, it's just to certain people, I could see how that's like scary. Mm-hmm. But for us, we had already done it. We had already kind of use that framework. So it was really easy for us to do it again in Montgomery, and it's worked out for us.
Definitely. And here's just the reality, right? We both live in California. Y'all are in Sacramento area. I'm in LA. It's expensive, right? Now we're not talking about FHA and those opportunities and being able to get into a property that way. We're talking about buying as an investor. Right. $500,000. I ain't got 20%. I'm pretty sure you don't want to part 20% on that. So, I encourage everyone who is in an expensive market, whether it's Miami, New York, whatever, consider investing out of state. These two have done it from California to the East Coast to the South. It's possible. And they pick up the phone, talk to some people, do your market research, and see if there's a good opportunity. And it's probably a better option or an option to look into instead of just looking at where you're at. It's too expensive, but there's other options out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's really all about relationships too, Sam. Like once you build those relationships with people, man, it's the possibilities are endless. So after the first one, we did the front end work all virtual, but when we went to we signed remote. So we had a notary come to our home and we signed remote and wired the money remote and everything. But we like to kind of do like a mini trip just to go see the house maybe, and then hand the keys to the property manager, meet them. And so we did that. And then you get to meet your agent face to face, after those phone conversations, you get to meet the property manager, and then you just begin to build a relationship with them. And so the next transactions only go smoother. The next two homes, Sam, I don't even think I talked to my agent on the phone. We literally would text message each other. I like this house. Okay. We want to offer X, all right, I'm sending it to the listing agent now. They accept it. I mean, we didn't even talk on the phone. It just became so seamless that it's just like, it's really easier than a lot of people think.
Hi everyone, Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Make sure to hit that notification bell and that subscribe button, and to visit us at blackrealestatedialogue.com.